All right, welcome to the show, folks. Hope everybody who celebrates it has a happy Thanksgiving, long extended weekend. And if you don't know me, my name is Mike Asherbrenner, professionally known as the Redneck Connector, proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business community, folks. And you're tuning in to Mike King Biz Radio on ESPN 106.1 FM RVA. Wow, we got encore. All right. And I'm not making this, I'm not just saying this. People say, bring that Curtis Rivers guy back. All right. That's the Hollywood stuntman turned soul god, and it's the holidays. If you're a high achiever, high professional, high performer, maybe a decision maker, entrepreneur, business owner, hey, this show's for you. He just doesn't talk about it, folks. He lives it at a high level that most people won't experience. Curtis Rivers, an award-winning author, world record-holding stuntman, and a transformational coach, trusted by executives, elite performers, redneck community leaders, pointing at this guy, and leaders all over the world. His work blends mindset, discipline, emotional mastery, and fearlessness into a framework that helps high achievers break through their limits, right, without bumping and burning out in the process. So we're going to tackle this today, folks. We're going to bring him in, run the intro, everything that a driven person feels but rarely talks about. That strange pressure between finishing the year strong and trying to enjoy the holidays, right? That's a heck of a tension there. So we're going to talk reset to rise. Let's do this now, folks. And thank you for piling in. Some of these hounds have been here since 1 o'clock, camping out like it's Alice Cooper concert, man. I love you all, right? We're going to get right to it, folks.
Looks like your business might be in a bit of a pickle. Don't you worry about a thing. You ain't alone in this. You're just a success story waiting to happen. Trust me on that. Every bump in the road is just an opportunity wearing a clever disguise. Welcome to the Hounds of Business community, where we don't just sit around twiddling our thumbs. Nope. We turn those obstacles into mighty fine stepping stones. This here's a place where high-level entrepreneurs and sharp professionals gather to grow their businesses and mindsets, kind of like how a good old gumbo needs the right ingredients to be something special. Ideas thrive here, and collaborations, well, they're as natural as sweet tea on a hot day. Success, it's a journey, and we're fixing to walk that road right beside you. Now, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn for all the latest tips and insights. We're talking about the kind of wisdom that'll keep you ahead of the game. And while you're at it, head on over to our YouTube channel. We've got ourselves a treasure trove of videos, from expert interviews to webinars, everything you need to stay sharp in this fast-moving world of business. The Hounds of Business community? Well, we ain't just a network, we're a movement. So why not come on and be part of something bigger? Join us today and let's turn your business journey into a real Southern success story. Together, we'll achieve greatness, just like crawfish and singing on a Friday night.
All right, folks. They got crawfish in the UK, so I'm not going to even ask him again, folks. Let's bring him on. Curtis Rivers, welcome to the show, big dog. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me back. It's a pleasure. I've been looking forward to speaking again.
I'm glad you came back. That's the nerve-wracking part, because you're supposed to say you're coming back, but then, will you come back? So, hey, we Merry Christmas came early, folks. All right. So let's rip the Band-Aid off of this, man. These folks are in here. They're high level too, all different levels, people in the comments, folks on the air. Thank you. Welcome. So I'll tell you what, anybody wants to skip ahead, you might have missed it on the last one. Go to curtisriverscoaching.com. You also go to curtisrivers.com if you want to see a more expansive view of what he's done and where he's been. But curtisriverscoaching.com's got a lot of resources for us busy professionals trying to navigate probably the hardest time, whether we admit it or not, December, right? So, Curtis, you work with high achievers across all industries. Why, in general, right? Why do the holidays expose their pressure points more than any other season?
I think it's that time of the year when so many different aspects converge. So, there's the obvious ones. There's business pressure, but there's also pressure with relationships, not just with your significant other, but you're meeting family members, parents, and all these old feelings bubble up. There's health implications, overeating, over drinking, and it's that convergence, I find, that makes this such a hectic time and such a challenge. And also, as a secondary factor, it's a time of year when, if you're not careful and you're not mindful, you're pulled out of the present, because you're thinking, say in business, how much business have I done? Oh, I thought I'd be further ahead. Maybe you're thinking that. oh, what changes do I need to make next year a better year? So one thing's in the past, how am I doing this year? The other thing's in the future, and you're spending less time in the present. And so all of these factors across all of the different sectors, they converge. And if you're not careful, you can blow a gasket.
See, that's the point I want to make, because I'm seeing the comments. I know these folks, right? All high achievers, a lot of them can take time to chill. But if you're like me, you just go, 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 right? And then you're frantic because you have more tasks. So on that note, what are the quiet signs that a high performer is sliding toward that burnout or even self-sabotage, even if they look and even feel normal, right? Because they're at that higher RPM, right? You notice?
Yeah. And that's key, like with high achievers, particularly masking, putting a brave face on and hiding that. But if you spot the signs early, it can be something as simple to begin with as overworking, starting to stay at the office a little bit later, starting to go in a bit early, start to fret that the work isn't done. So that starts to manifest as overworking. And then there's a knock-on effect, because then they're thinking of that they can't shut off. So they're not sleeping properly. They find it hard to go to sleep, or they wake up early worrying, or both. So that lack of sleep then bleeds into their relationships. They can be a little bit snappier with their spouse or partner. And
man, you've been peeking in my window or something?
Exactly that, yeah.
Talking to, man. Don't out me like
that. But so it's a slippery slope, and it can be quite subtle individually. Yeah, I've got to work a little bit late, and you justify it. I've got to work a little bit late because I want to free up time to spend time with the family. It's Christmas.
Yeah.
These are just excuses, and none of that is keeping you present.
I got another one. Folks in the comments or on air, if you want to go to YouTube and comment afterwards. So here's one I found. Well, I worked so long, I'm tired. So then I take my sleep time because I can't wind down anyway because I'm so wound up, right? Then I scroll mindlessly through social media posts, right? Or YouTube videos and things, right? And because you don't have that time for you, and you're going to take it, it's going to come out of somewhere. Sleep, relationship. And I think if you're always on the go, it's conscious. It's an intentional. April White. See, we said her name and she pops up in the comments. So intentional to stop and go, am I okay? Because you're burning at longer, harder RPMs. And if you're a high achiever, you're probably already, it would probably kill a normal person, right? So you do have to be aware of that, because I did the same thing, Curtis. Opportunities fly at you and you work so hard for them. You're not going to slow down and not capitalize, but you can burn out if you're not cognizant of it. So, we know this, and people say, well, how? Well, that's why you exist. Like, because I can't see the forest from the trees. I don't want to spend years and decades going and getting the knowledge you have. It's easier for me to pick up the phone, have a session, talk to you, get clarity, move out, right? Because we don't sit around and talk about the childhood and all this. We tell you, hey, where are we? Where we want to go? How are we going to get there? A roadmap. So speaking of that, before we move on to it, you teach slowing down isn't a weakness. It's strategic. And I didn't believe that until I watched Olympic athletes. They take intentional time off. We have Diana Kay, right? She's a boxing coach in the Hounds now. She said the same thing. I don't push until the fight. I take time down because it's biological. So where did that understanding first click for you personally? Because you're an extreme athlete as a stuntman and record holder.
Yeah, I mean, it would have clicked way back then, with stunts, like you mentioned, the boxing. It's the same with fight routines, with whether that's sword work. It doesn't have to be just fist fights. And any stunt, really. What I noticed early days, because I've been into personal development for decades, I was really into that even when I was an active stunt performer. As a performer, I saw the difference between a stunt director who over-rehearsed and didn't give you those breaks, and they cracked the whip, and they just wore everyone into the ground. And I saw the effect of morale, mental health, stress, and to be honest, the finished result wasn't as good as when a more mindful stunt director respected his team, looked after people's morale, gave rests, we kept us hydrated.
You're tough guys, so you're not going to stop and say, I need to get a foot rub. I mean, you guys are going to keep grinding. If the leader's saying grind, you guys are going to be tough. I mean, that's like firemen. Same thing I experienced.
Yeah, right? Early days, you would just keep going. And back then, if you're in a place of ego and that toxic masculinity, trying to keep up with the guys. Everyone's flexing and you're just trying to keep up. But there's a very, very different approach. And so when I became the teacher, when I became the stunt director, then I respected and looked after my team, kept them hydrated, kept them well rested, give them time off. We finished early. They may have thinking they're in till 8 p.m. and we just finish at 6. Go on, you hit the road, guys. Just, beat the traffic. You get back to your families. It's more important because you can over-rehearse and you can overtrain. Good athletes need rest between exercises for muscle repair and that kind of thing. So there's a mental aspect to it and there's a physical aspect to it and a spiritual aspect as well. So it's multifaceted. Rest is super important and it's definitely not a weakness.
It's that harmony, right? I'm not knocking it. Don't send me hate mail. But I don't like the word balance. Like I said, every time I take a step, I'm off balance. I like harmony. Sometimes I might be over here in the spiritual or the physical, but it's you're not sacrificing completely one. So on that note, let's talk emotional intelligence during the holidays, right? What does it look like when a high achiever loses it? Because if you keep burning, you can erode it without noticing it, right? And then when they truly master it. So how can we, what's it look like in general when you're burning and you don't understand, you're losing your emotional intelligence?
Yeah, that's a well-rounded individual. So we're talking about that kind of, whether you want to refer to it as balance or that harmony, but it's a harmony between heart and mind. This is how I see it. So if you're all in the heart and you're not mindful in business, then that will lead to certain complications. If you're overly analytical and you're disconnected from the heart, then that will cause big problems as well. So, and that's what's happening oftentimes in this holiday season, when you overanalyze. People are spending too much time in the past analyzing what went wrong or thinking of past Christmases, and they're trying to dodge this and duck that, planning ahead, and they're not in the present. They get very analytical, and what that does is pull you away from your emotional intelligence, from the heart center, because you're just in the head. And when you're devoid of that emotional connection, that's when you're vulnerable to making those wrong decisions, snapping loved ones, like we said. Comes from a place because you're in the head and you're just analytical. You're not really listening. You're not engaging. You're not connecting. People aren't being heard. You're not spending time really hearing people and having that time over dinner. You're still thinking of business. You're still in the office, the home office in your head, instead of listening to people today over the food table and sharing and being kind and caring and loving, which is an emotive, heart-centered response. So it comes back to that centering and that balance between the two, because that's what it looks like. It looks like somebody snapping, somebody on the edge, somebody approaching burnout.
Yeah, I would ask anybody else feeling this too, but you don't have to share it. I am. Again, I'm not saying to brag by no means, but to be honest, because we think we're the only ones. Oh, well, that guy, he never has that problem. That lady, she never. Oh, come on now. No, nobody puts the clogged toilet on the Facebook post, right? If you're the only one that has a clogged toilet, to debunk that. Note, how can leaders, especially the high-driven, high-performer, big visionaries, how can we recognize the difference between healthy reflection and that spiraling and self-doubt at this time of year? Because I'm feeling it too.
Yeah. The best advice I can give is to go back to this being present in the holiday season over Christmas time, and to clarify what that means. What does that mean, being present? Instead of spending time reflecting, oh, my figures are down, my sales are down, oh, why did so and so decide to change the newsletter to a monthly? It was doing well as a weekly, and rah, and they're in that past reflective place. And then they immediately bypass the present to say, right, well, we'll sack that guy, or we'll discipline that guy, the blame game. We will change that back to a weekly newsletter, and that's all in the future. And there's no one around unless they have an accountability partner or a coach to go, just stop for a moment, right? Briefly analyze that, then come back into the present. What can you do now to action to rectify that? So sort that out in that newsletter analogy, send the email, leave the post-it note, press the button on your desk and pass it on to your PA. Whatever needs to happen in the present, to rectify that. And then that's it done. You don't have to worry about something that might never happen. You don't have to keep reflecting on things that have already been and gone that you cannot change, but do everything in the present, including enjoying the holiday season and embracing it, because it's only here once. Christmas 2025 is here once only. And you, if you're present, you can make it the best one ever.
Well, see, and again, this is not a quick fix, magic pill type of thing. You know, 8 weeks, 12 weeks of coaching can really launch you to the next level. It can take you from the minor leagues to the major leagues to the Olympic level leads, right? And that's why you're so good, because you live this. You understand from grassroots and self-doubt and people saying, "Oh, you're not made for that. Give up that dream," right? Little Richard, same thing. Dad kept quit singing in the house. You know, he'd yell at him and look at him. Right? Everybody knows him, right? So tutti frutti. So on that note, we're going to give a shout out real quick to Mike King Biz Radio, ESPN. Thank you for the opportunity to work together, my friends. Pushing up people, going international with folks like Curtis Rivers, pushing up the Hounds. We've got some big surprises coming around in January, folks. You guys caught the attention of some major movers with huge hearts, down to earth folks, just like Curtis. It's like bug zappers, man. All you got to do is get a few people excited and they all come rolling. And that's what we're all about. So thank you, Mike King. The Hounds, no strays out there, folks. Building a business, leaving a legacy, being your best self, that stuff's hard, super hard. Even almost impossible for most of us if you don't have the support, people, and resources to make it possible. That's where we're coming. We're not perfect, but we're intentional. All right. So you can find me, Mike Asherbrenner, or Redneck One on LinkedIn. Also, Hounds of Business on YouTube. We got tons of funny short videos, meaningful stuff all across. Not just me talking, folks. There's all kind of experts out there. So whether it's the mental game, the strategy, or tactics, go check out that YouTube channel. And again, old school carrier pigeon, right? It's snowing out here, so I might get it late, but you can send those too, Game of Thrones style. So if you're just tuning in, we're here with Curtis Rivers. Go to curtisriverscoaching.com. Former Hollywood stuntman turned soul guide, world record holder, record breaker, been through it, and like me, grew up with dirt. You can't even burn dirt, folks. So, you know, we're talking as inspiration, but we're actually being more practical this time because people want to know how to. We all know, oh, be harmonious. Okay, how the heck do I do it? So you kind of piggybacking on what you said, you believe reflection is a power multiplier. So what is the right way for a high performer to reflect without ruminating? Hone in on that a little bit more because I know that's a problem. How do we reflect without diving into a downward spiral again?
Yeah, it's about how you deal with that time that you say ruminate. That brings you out of the present again. So you've got to spend some time. If you go into the past and it's a positive memory, great. Come immediately back into the present and smile and be grateful for that. That worked. Happy days. Enjoy it. Back in the present. Don't drift off. Thinking of the good old days. Go there briefly. Come back to the present. Smile. Be grateful. Gratitude's a great, powerful tool. And if it's a challenging thing, don't dwell on it. Don't begin one of these loops, so you can go into the past. You can look at it. Yeah, that didn't work out. What can I learn from that? And then immediately come back to the present. That's what people forget to do. They get in that negative spiral based in the past, which is been and gone, and they can't change that. But instead, what's the lesson that I learned from that challenge? Then come back into the present. Okay, and what am I going to do to make sure that doesn't happen again, happens differently next time? And then deal with it. And you've put it to bed, and that is now, you're now grounded and you're in a good place. You don't have to keep revisiting that. That's good. And you can implement a strategy and put that briefly in the future. That's going to happen. You're going to put that in your calendar. You're going to start that particular method in a few weeks, and that's enough time. And now you've just got a massive weight off your shoulders because that's not bothering. That's what high achievers do. They're not spending their life in the past or worrying about what might happen in the future. They're dealing with things on a daily basis and being very mindfully present.
Hey, those watching here, did you see me go from radio host to I want to get a coaching session? Y'all see my face? I'm about to pop. So let me throw this at you in true or false time, I guess. So here's what I thought. I said, oh, that thing that was in January, this January was awful, horrible. Oh, it kept me up at night. It was a big deal. And then I went, that horrible thing gave you 5 amazing opportunities, right? And you grew through it. And that's kind of what you're saying. Hey, you look back on some of the things that were so horrible. You couldn't imagine getting through them. Oh, my goodness. How could that happen? That's awful. and look at where you're at today. Right? And those kind of things are the ways to healthy, right? Am I on the right track? Or
Yeah,
I burned the
100%.
casserole, but that's a funny memory we'll never forget. We're not gonna remember what we ate 10 years from now, but we'll remember those pancake frisbees my mom made that year, right? We threw them around the house for 4 hours. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly that. It's how you deal with it. You're only dipping your toe into the past briefly enough to subtract the lesson from that. And sometimes you can smile at it, at the ridiculousness of it, that you trusted that person, and everybody around you said don't do that, but you went against your gut instinct and did a thing anyway, and you're kicking yourself. You're definitely going to learn, and you can just kind of like laugh it off and smile. All right, that was really tough at the time, but I've learned my lesson, and I'm moving on. And you can smile, and I won't do that again. You learned the hard way, as is often the case, and then you can share that with others as we do, so they don't have to make the same mistakes.
Make new mistakes, make better mistakes. Don't make Curtis's mistakes. Don't go through 3 years of what he can guide you through in like 2 months. That's the point here. I didn't evolve rapidly like the Gremlin on Gremlins 2 by myself. I did it by being surrounded by brilliant people. Right. So if you don't want to pay for all that, just be a podcast host and have actual audience. But if you're like the rest of us and you have your own goals, tap into elite coaches, people who've been there, done that. And it's not that I'm goofy. I could learn it, but I don't want to. And I'm supposed to go out there and help build a community and uplift people and help them build a business and legacy. So that's why we're doing this. And real quick, so we got a few minutes, about 5 left. So preparing for the year ahead, right? High performers. You coach elite performers all over the place. What separates the ones who grow every year from year, from the ones who repeat the same year over and over again?
That's a good question. Yeah. I think the biggest separation would be the really successful people leave their ego behind and therefore take full responsibility.
Boom.
And it's quite a big thing to step up to the plate. And it's very unusual. It's not the norm. It's the 1% who would take absolute full responsibility for the good, the bad, the indifferent, because it's their decision. If they're in a poor relationship, and even if that person's treating them badly, they said yes to that person, that they took that person out, they dated them, they're with them, that they put up with their stuff. They're responsible. And it's the same in business, relationships, in finances, across the board. And the difference is that when you leave your ego behind and you don't come from that egoic place, you can just take full responsibility. And it's very empowering because there is no blame game. And without that, there's nowhere to hide. And there's a lot of power in thinking, okay, this didn't go right because I made certain decisions. I
whoa.
Better,
But ain't it easier, just to blame other people and not take because you're talking about taking personal responsibility, and that sounded fun in a book, but when I did it all, it was awful, man. I can see why people, especially when life's good, you definitely don't want to dive that deep inside of you. But you're saying that if you're struggling internally, that's where to look. Don't look outside. Don't look for another necessarily, thing or quick fix, right? Especially maladaptive behaviors, right? So you're saying just face it. Stop running from it. That's step one, right?
Yeah. Drop the ego, because, why? Who are you serving by blaming other people? It's an escape. And don't get me wrong, it's a natural human emotion. Somebody cuts you up in traffic, and you've got an option. You can curse and you can honk your horn and gesture, do hand gestures, whatever, and stress yourself out. Or you can pause and think, that was the old me, and that stuck with me for hours after the event. That person obviously has issues, but that's not a blame game. That person has issues, but I have the choice to hit my brake, just let them do, and just whatever, let it go. And they go off and do their thing. And then maybe even what I do in that situation is go even further and think, I'm going to let the next person out into this traffic, even though I don't have to. And then you let them out, and they're like, great. And you turn in lemons into lemonade, and you turn
Kevin Smith style,
into better ones. So yeah, and that's all down to personal responsibility, making a choice, deciding to create the life you want and not be a passenger in your life, which most people are just adrift at sea floating. And then there's people like you and I who set sail and have a target, and we navigate to a destination, and we accept there's going to be storms and we navigate them, but we're in charge. We make a conscious choice. We're not going to moan if there's a storm. We're not going to moan if we drift off course a little bit. We just course correct and carry on, positive mental attitude.
I love that. Here's what I heard. It's in phases, right? So number one, the mental talk was, if I don't eat with you, if I don't share a room with you, and I don't pay taxes on you, I probably shouldn't let you bother me that much, right? So that's phase one. But number two was that kindness worldwide, Kevin Smith kind of flavor, where it's, and you know what? I'm going to be a force for good. Everybody's grumpy. Everybody's yelling, blocking each other in at the mall. And I'm going to be the nice person. Even though it's going to make people behind me mad, I'm going to take charge. And so, again, personal responsibility to me, Curtis, is probably the biggest show of inner strength. It's not weakness at all. You're the one person that's not triggered by the nonsense. That's a huge, you can't fake it. You got to dive into it, right? And you got to learn. And there you go. Hey, I just set that up. CurtisRiversCoaching.com. All right, set that up. Go read stuff. You don't have to set a meeting with him yet. Go look at what he's doing. Go watch him and follow him on LinkedIn. Get on that. And, then when you realize that he's the real deal and he's a nice, super nice guy, very nice guy, then lean in. So let's close out with this last question. It's my signature question, right? Someone's listening out there, and they feel tired, but they're still driven. You're like me, right? Like, I still want to do things. My spirit's up, but I'm tired. It's a tough month. What's the very first step, baby step even, they should take to, rise higher in this next year? What can they do now practically?
It's probably counterintuitive what I'm going to say, but I'm going to go back to that, what we spoke of earlier, that there's no shame in taking a rest. So although you would expect me to say practical steps in digging deeper and working harder and gaining clarity and implementing that, just stop. If you're tired, seriously, if you're tired and you're facing burnout this time of year, just stop. This is the time where it is okay to take an hour out and go for a walk, get your feet on the ground, get some fresh air, wrap up warm if it's snowing like it is for you. Go and build a snowman with your kid, Get outside and have a break. Because like with the stunt work and the physicality, we mentioned boxing earlier, when you get back to your desk after an hour grounded and just letting go, digital detox, you're much more efficient. You'll have a much more productive afternoon anyway than if you try to work your backside off, like grinding, feeling all tense and so just get out and about, breathe, nervous system reset, and you'll come back 10 times stronger.
A daggum straight, easier said than done, but your brain is saying, oh no, you can't do that. But your brain was wired not to get eaten by bears, right? It's doing its job, but it's a little too much. And we have to use our minds to say, you know what? My brain's saying panic and run around like a crazy person, but yeah, I know better. I know the science behind it. I know the biology behind this. Just like we talked about, just like an Olympic athlete. Do not work and grind the day before the Olympic Games. Duh, right? And that's what we're talking about. So that's why, hey, all high achievers tuning in on the air, all the Hounds, friends of the Hounds in the comments, this one was for you. So thank you, Curtis Rivers. The comments, wow, they were just as good as the daggum show. And this is what I love to see. So folks, again, no strays out there. Go to curtisrivers.com or curtisriverscoaching.com. Go have fun. The guy's got tons of great content, a lot of humor. You won't be sorry. And all the folks in the comments, all the Hounds, like I said, get ready, folks. I say that, but I don't say it when it's not true. You guys have caught the attention of some major players out there who built from dirt, still built from heart. And I like to say they could buy, they still shop at Walmart, even though they could buy one. They're those kind of people. So those are your kind of people. Hey, Hounds of Business, shameless plug, man. So thank you, Curtis. Thank you for bringing this to the forefront, for encouraging us and giving us some practical how-tos, because we're not alone, right? We're not alone in this. It's not something to be ashamed of. We're people before we're business people, but we're mindful and we're high achievers. So thank you, my friend. Appreciate you a million. And folks, hey, tune in next week. The ladies of I Am Magazine, all right? The editor and the co-founders are going to be on here with the men's launch. And guess what? That thing's packed full of Hounds like Curtis Rivers. So this snowball is going up, y'all. It's going to be 2026 is going to be your time. Go write that book, build that business, start that nonprofit. Stop talking about it. Stop minimize it. Start doing it. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you back. Thank you, Mike King. We see you, big dog. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.